All right, besties, we're going to shift gears from influencer meltdowns to something even wilder. This time, it's a federal judge who writes revenge fan fiction about the people in her own courtroom, allegedly. I know a lot of you are new to this case, but trust me, this one is one of the most fascinating, absolutely insane examples of unchecked judicial power that I've ever seen. And the craziest part, somehow it's all allowed. A federal judge wrote a fictionalized hit piece on a guy she was actively ruling against. She helped turn a multi-billion-dollar company into a liquidation feeding frenzy for her courtroom insiders. Her legal friends walked away with $200 million, while everyone else apparently got screwed. And the system that's supposed to hold her accountable looked the other way.
Everything you asked me to do, the stock buys, the offshore accounts, all of it, it's unethical.
So if they can do this to someone that has successful businesses, employees, the hedge fund CEO, and we're going to look into him and others. But from what I understand, it was supposed to be a very simple case. And then somehow it got pushed by this judge to what it turned into. And this happened to a guy with likely insane legal resources, maybe kind of how Baldoni has his Steve Sarowitz, okay? But if this can happen to him, what do you think they can do to regular people? Because this isn't just about Highland Capital. This is how the entire bankruptcy system operates. And unless something changes, they're going to keep doing it.
Especially when crooked politicians are stealing the taxpayers' money by being lenient with criminals who are escaping punishment through incompetent prosecutors and corrupt judges.
And if you're new here, I'm Ari. And a few years ago, I got absolutely obliterated by the New York Times in a hit piece. Full character assassination, career sabotage, the works. Why? Because legacy media and powerful people love to build people up and then rip them to shreds for clicks. But they picked the wrong one because I don't just roll over. I fought back, and now I like to do this. I like to expose bad actors and this is just a wild case. Like, if it would have happened to anybody that I know, I don't know how they could have possibly fought it, because it takes a lot of courage and grit to fight with a system like this. So today's story, it's giving, I cannot believe this is real life energy. So let's get into it. Oh, and before I do, make sure you're subscribed, you like this video, and you hit that notification bell, because trust me, the people I talk about, they would love for you to miss this. All right, meet Judge Stacey Jernigan. Judge Stacey Jernigan, she's a federal bankruptcy judge in Texas, and she's been overseeing one of the messiest, most controversial corporate bankruptcy cases in recent history. It's called the Highland Capital Management Bankruptcy. But here's where things go from messy to outright dystopian, because while she was presiding over this case, she was also writing fiction novels where the villains just happened to resemble the very people she was ruling against in real life. Can you just imagine the audacity? So let's just talk about this case really fast. A sitting judge, someone who's supposed to be impartial, wrote a book featuring a shady hedge fund manager as the bad guy. So this is her book. Oh, here she is. Judge Stacey Jernigan. She's drinking like a glass of wine in this picture. It says, the author Stacey G.C. Jernigan has served as a federal bankruptcy judge since 2006 in Dallas, Texas. Before that, she practiced law at a large international law firm based in Texas. She is married to a police officer, has a son and daughter who are both young adults now, and has a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Baxter. Hey, I had a dog named Baxter. Aw, poor Baxter. I miss Baxter. Eat the whole wheel of cheese. She writes and travels extensively in her spare time. This is someone who's supposed to be impartial, and she writes a book about a shady hedge fund manager as the bad guy while actively ruling against an actual hedge fund manager in her courtroom. The timeline, it's a bit suspicious. The conflict of interest, it's blinding. And the Fifth Circuit Court's response, oh, just a casual, yeah, this is concerning, but we're gonna let it slide. Hello? I have so many questions, like, is this normal? Is this ethical? Is she writing legal orders or fan fictional drafts? And most importantly, how is she still on the bench? buckle up because this is just the beginning of my deep dive, episode 1. So hopefully you guys can help me dig because I feel like there's so much more to this. It's not just about her, it's about a whole system that seems corrupt.
Corruption, cover-ups, evil.
And I feel like, look, we just found another article about her. A renegade Texas judge. That is hilarious. Let's start with the case itself, because once you understand what happened in that courtroom, you'll see just how insane it is. And we're going to have questions about how this judge is still making rulings. So Highland Capital Management was a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund run by a guy named James Dondero. In 2019, the firm went into bankruptcy, and like most corporate bankruptcies, the expectation was that they'd reorganize and keep the company running. But that's not what happened. Instead, the case spiraled into a full liquidation, with hundreds of millions of dollars getting funneled into legal fees and insider deals. So let me explain how that happened. Guess who was at the center of it all? Judge Stacey Jernigan. And she wasn't just overseeing this bankruptcy. She was actively shaping it in a way that made sure her courtroom friends got paid. I need y'all to understand how big of a deal this is. This wasn't just a simple company goes bankrupt situation. This was a deliberate power grab.
Hedge funds came next, then private offshore accounts, and eventually much bigger fish.
They turned a regular bankruptcy into a billion-dollar liquidation scheme, and the people making the decisions were allegedly the ones benefiting from it. This novel reads like a courtroom hit piece. So while she's presiding over this case that was supposed to be a simple bankruptcy case, and then it turns out they're going to do full liquidation, almost $1 billion. While that was going on, Judge Jernigan was busy writing her fiction novel about, wait for it, a corrupt hedge fund manager who manipulates the system and screws over honest people. Sound familiar? So even like how they describe this guy apparently is just like how it is in the book. Okay, so it says this is her book. So apparently the character in her book is called Cade Graham. Cade Graham, a well-known blah blah hedge fund manager, CEO, Dallas-based Ranger. He looked 50-something and had slicked back, silver hair, a tanned complexion, sparkling green eyes, and fluorescently glowing white teeth. I don't know if this guy has green. Does he have green eyes? Just regardless. Okay, so she's writing about a hedge fund guy. This is him. A little suspicious, for sure. The hedge fund villain in her book is almost identical to James Dondero, the very guy she was ruling against in real life. The way she describes his tax schemes, his offshore accounts, his arrogance, it's like she copy-pasted her court opinions and slapped a fictional name on it. So at this point, you have to ask, was she making legal rulings or was she just acting out her own novel in real life? Because if you're presiding over $1 billion case while writing fictionalized hit pieces on the people involved, how can you possibly be unbiased? So obviously Dondero, who was losing everything in his bankruptcy, asked for Judge Jernigan to be removed from the case. He filed a recusal motion saying, hey, this woman is literally writing books about me while ruling on my case. Maybe that's a problem. So he's like, can we just get a new judge so we can make this fair? And the Fifth Circuit Court actually admitted that her books raise questions about judicial impartiality, but then refused to remove her anyway. Because apparently writing revenge fiction about your own litigants, no big deal. The actual quote from the Fifth Circuit's decision was, while troubling, this conduct does not meet the threshold for judicial bias. What is that supposed to mean? Sounds a little sus, but we're gonna let it slide. If this isn't bias, then what is it? Do we need her to write an entire trilogy before they take it seriously? Because I'm pretty sure she already wrote 2. I don't think this should be legal. Let's recap. Judge Stacey Jernigan presided over a $1 billion corporate bankruptcy, turned it into a liquidation, feeding frenzy for law firms, all while writing a fictional novel about the very people she was actively ruling against. And the courts, the system, just let it slide.
So let's just take a step back. This wasn't just a messy bankruptcy case. This was a full-on blueprint for how judges and their courtroom buddies can rewrite the rules, funnel millions to themselves, and get away with it. And the fact that a federal judge was out here writing literal revenge fan fiction about the people she was destroying in court, seemingly, that should be a big scandal. But instead, why is this just business as usual? And listen, we're just getting started, because part 2, we're breaking down how bankruptcy courts literally became a money laundering operation for law firms, how judges like Jernigan protect the game, and why no one in power wants to stop them. If you're not subscribed yet, fix that right now. Hit that button, turn on notifications, and like this video, because trust me, there are very powerful people who would love for you to miss what's coming next. And if you want to dig with me, drop a comment. What do you think is the biggest red flag in this case so far? Because I still have so many questions. All right, that's it for now, but don't go far. Part 2 is coming, and if you thought this was bad, oh, just wait till we see. See you guys on the next one. Bye.